General Jack Keane joins me now. General, help us put this into context. I mean, is Putin ratcheting up here? I mean, targeting a children's hospital?
Well, they've been ratcheting up for some time, ever since the Ukrainians did not have the appropriate numbers and quality of air defense systems. Russia certainly has been taking advantage of that. Now those systems are moving into Ukraine, but they're still not in place to the degree that they were in the past. And Russia, from the outset, as we knew, their offensive operations in terms of ground maneuver has failed largely in 22, and a lot of what they were trying to accomplish this year hasn't come anywhere near what they wanted to accomplish. But their air campaign, they have focused on the Ukrainian people to attempt to break their will and also to destroy as much of the energy infrastructure as they can. And that is what is going on here. And hopefully the rest of these air defense systems get into Ukraine as quickly as possible, or this horrible results that we're seeing today are going to continue.
And I wonder, as I read this headline to you from Politico, if Putin is also thinking along these lines about our current situation here in America. The headline is, American allies fear Biden is finished and can't beat Trump. And the quote is, amongst NATO allies' concerns is how much longer Biden can muster American support for Europe's defense, especially after what is likely to be a close election against a Republican former president who is skeptical of assisting partners abroad. Do you think Putin is looking at the situation and thinking now's the time to press ahead?
Well, I think Putin certainly is very well versed on the political situation in the United States. After all, he has organized considerable effort in interfering in our elections, national elections largely, for the last 12 years. So, yes, he is certainly cognizant of what is taking place here. And I think he's a master at manipulating American presidents to a certain degree. And I think he has believed ever since Biden took over that Biden's judgment wasn't what it should be, that he is he's an appeaser and he would not confront him. That's why he moved 70,000 troops 60 days into the Biden administration to the border of Ukraine. And when President Biden was asked, what are you going to do about that, the answer was, well, it depends on how much territory he takes. I think that was a green light for Putin. He saw the judgment being rendered over Afghanistan. I mean, the horror of what took place on the remaining days and the loss of life, 13 Americans, 170 people from Afghanistan was horrific. But what they got out of that was the judgment decision of walking away from an ally we were with for 20 years side by side and be willing to surrender the country to the adversary that we were fighting together. They saw that as weakness. And yes, that's what's at play here. There's a reason why Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea are all more aggressive in the last 3 years. And I think it sits at the feet of their perception that the national leadership in the United States is weak. They're not going to be confronted. They see opportunity based on our vulnerabilities, and they've been taking advantage of it.
And just a last comment from me on that is that last week you had somebody within the White House calling Axios and saying that the president is only dependably engaged between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. And that was coming from inside the White House. So all of it is certainly interesting but troubling as well. And thank you for your thoughts today, sir.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.